Greetings everybody, John Tara here. This is my channel WikiGameGuides, and in this video I'm going to try to answer the question, is The Division what we expected out of Destiny? So the beta for The Division just ended, and I've been playing it a bunch and really enjoying it, and there are a lot of very easy comparisons to make to Destiny. I loved Destiny for a long time, and then I just instantly snapped and got burned out on it and never really wanted to play it again. And there's a lot of similarities between the games, so I'm going to try to share my thoughts on this beta and hopefully address some questions you may have about this if you enjoyed Destiny and were looking for something a little bit more. Both Destiny and The Division are console-focused multiplayer RPG shooters with tons of unique loot and character customization. And while Destiny certainly has plenty of easy things to critique, Destiny was an extremely ambitious project that brought a level of RPG and addictiveness to a console shooter that we have never seen before in the world of gaming. And from what I can tell, the developers of The Division paid very close attention to Destiny's negative feedback and made sure to correct those mistakes. The many Destiny vibes in this game make me cautious, but the Dark Zone multiplayer is one of the most unique and fun experiences I have had in a long time. Instead of quitting single player and then switching to multiplayer to get into a PvP zone, you walk through the streets of Manhattan into an area where anything goes and the best loot in the game can be found. So in the Dark Zone, there are groups of AI enemies that you can kill for contaminated loot. To keep this contaminated loot, you have to successfully extract it by publicly signaling a helicopter, waiting 90 seconds, then attaching the container to the helicopter. Now, the tension and challenge comes from the fact that every other player in the vicinity now knows that someone is trying to get some good items out of the Dark Zone, and that puts a huge target on your back for 90 seconds. And because you can go rogue and kill other players at any time, but by default, you're not hostile to other players. So the Dark Zone has constantly changing decisions and trade-offs and challenges. So when you have no loot, basically what you're doing is just wandering around looking for trouble, either AI or other players to kill as they try to extract their loot. If you have one or two decent items, there's kind of a decision whether or not, like you can only hold 6 items at a time of contaminated stuff, whereas your full backpack is 30 plus items. If you have one or two contaminated items, you can decide to either keep pushing it and try to fill up your pack or extract exactly what you have. And, maybe waste some time doing the full extraction process. And when you have some really good items or maxed out your contaminated loot capacity, the tension goes through the roof as you try to extract your loot as quickly as possible without getting killed and your items stolen. So the going rogue system can be a little bit tricky. By default, when you enter the Dark Zone, you are not hostile towards anybody. When you first shoot another player, it gives you a warning that you are about to go rogue. And if you keep attacking and you do go rogue, that marks you on the map for everybody else in the area for a short amount of time. Now, there's like a GTA style 5-star alert system, and the more players you kill, the longer you stay rogue, the longer the cooldown clock is before going back to neutral, and the larger the bounty is on your head in Dark Zone credits for other players if they do kill you. And you gain more money as well, the higher your notoriety level is. And my favorite moment from this entire beta, this whole weekend of playing the beta, was when I was live streaming and there was a team of 4 people in my instance that went on an insane killing spree. And their entire team of 4 was at the highest possible level of notoriety. Now, the rogue team was sprinting around the map as fast as possible, trying to find a safe place to let the clock expire. And as I was kind of like watching their progress on the overhead map and trying to cut them off, when I did cut them off, I realized that the entire instance of however many people were there was chasing the rogue team, and I saw 6 other players chasing the 4 evil guys in addition to myself trying to hunt those guys down. It felt like something out of a heist movie. It was pretty incredible. So unfortunately, there's no item trading in The Division, which is a huge disappointment. You can transfer your items between your own characters, but as of right now, I'm not sure why you would want to have multiple characters, because each character can be spec'd out in any way possible, and skill points aren't locked when chosen and can be switched around at any time. So unlike Destiny, where it might have made sense to have one of each of the 3 different classes, there are no, you don't choose a class at the start of this game. It kind of builds over time as you gain currency and experience in the 3 different trees, but you're never like stuck doing just one class. And when you die in the Dark Zone, you lose some of the Dark Zone currency. And I don't think I mentioned this before, but there's 2 different kinds of currency: the Dark Zone currency and like regular dollars, and any contaminated items you were carrying. So when I died one time in the Dark Zone, when I was carrying 6 items, 2 of them could only be recovered by myself, while the other 4 could be stolen by the first person to show up and grab them off of my dead body. So you don't lose everything that you were carrying. You do have the opportunity to kind of recover some of your lost credits and loot. And I do need to point, like, I don't think enough reviews ever really talk about this, but Ubisoft did an excellent job fine-tuning the aiming for consoles as well. I know a lot of people are going to turn your nose up at this and say like a PC master race, but I'll get to that in a minute. The console aiming controls are excellent. There are separate camera and aim sensitivity sliders that let you really fine-tune the aiming and running camera speeds to make it the perfect balance between a slow aim when you're holding the left trigger and a super fast scanning the environment, hip firing. The auto aim is not super heavy, but I would say that the aiming is almost as good as Gears of War, which I would consider to be like the gold standard for console third-person shooters for like real precision, fast aiming. Now, back to the PC version of this game. I'm playing the Xbox One right here. I'll be very cautious about the PC version of this, especially if you're really interested in the multiplayer parts of this game. Numerous threads popped up on Reddit today talking about how insanely easy it was to hack this beta. These threads are linked in the comments, or are linked in the description below, and they're actually pretty interesting reads if you're curious about how some people hack. Like, I don't have very much experience. I have no experience creating my own hacks. I've used some hacks before, but I really don't have much of a grasp on how people come up with these things. But these guys actually did a good job talking about and explaining how they managed to manipulate these online multiplayer worlds. So one problem I've run into is accidentally shooting non-hostile characters. You do have to be careful that if this is something that's just going to end up, I hope it just comes with practice, but I have been in situations where I was shooting at someone that had gone rogue, which would not in turn make me go rogue. If you kill someone that's gone rogue, that's a good thing. If you are neutral and then shoot someone else that's neutral, that's kind of a bad thing, I guess you could say. It's more of a gamble. But what I've run into a couple times is, because everybody that's neutral is on the same team, I accidentally shot some neutral players that were trying to charge in on the rogue players, therefore turning myself rogue when I didn't mean to. And then I ended up losing the credits and experience and loot because I ended up getting killed when I wasn't really prepared or in a situation to defend myself. I was just by myself. So, in case you haven't noticed already, the enemies are huge bullet sponges, which isn't really a problem for me. It's just something you have to expect and get used to when compared to shooters like Halo and Call of Duty. It's much more like shooters like Borderlands and Destiny. It's an RPG shooter. And in one situation, the time to kill enemies had a very unexpected adverse effect. And because of the odd hostility systems, I killed one dude in a team of 2, and there's about a 30-second respawn timer after you get killed, which is probably the longest respawn timer you will see in any non-round-based shooter these days, so it's kind of interesting. And after that dude respawned, he rejoined his teammate to change the term of the fight. Because it took so long, I couldn't kill that second guy quickly enough, so his friend actually respawned and ran back into the fight and shot me in the back, which really sucked. And because of the short healing skill cooldown and 3 health packs you can carry around, it makes the firefights last a very long time. And I would really love to see an item in this game that you can use to prevent enemies from healing. That could really make a huge difference in how some of these extended firefights really play out. So there are solo single-player missions and just co-op focused missions as well. You can change the difficulty on these if you want to replay it and get better loot, similar to Destiny. I keep bringing up Destiny, and it may look nothing like it, but if you've played a lot of Destiny, this game is going to feel familiar in some ways, which I think is really a good thing. I love Destiny, and playing with other people is really the major focus of the Division. And I think it's important to point out that Ubisoft nailed the group management system. It's amazing how bad some games are at party management, but in the Division, it's very easy to invite friends to your game or find random people through the matchmaking to do a mission with. New York City feels like a truly alive post-apocalyptic city when you see lots of other real players running around and completing missions in the safe areas or hunting for loot in the dark zone. I've never seen a game quite like this that it just felt so... Destiny in a way felt that way, but there's so many different instanced zones in Destiny that you'd start a mission and kind of go into your own thing and only be with the guys you're doing co-op with. Whereas this, well, and that's how these missions work here as well, but like there's just so many more public spaces where you're going to see people running around trying to kill each other or trying to kill AI. It's just, it feels much more organic. It's really fascinating to see. And not to keep rubbing salt in Destiny's wounds, but the Division has a voice comm system that actually works and makes sense. There's a proximity chat, so you can easily talk to anybody wandering around the environment, which can really help you determine if the person you run into is going to be hostile or friendly. And also, to talk about the kind of overarching RPG of the game, the base of operations has 3 different wings, and they each have multiple levels of upgrades, lots of collectibles to find, and a very small portion of the base of operations is unlockable through the beta, but it looks like there's an enormous amount of stuff to do that's going to keep you really busy for a long time with lots of kind of interesting missions. There's a lot more equipment and customization than Destiny, which I'm loving so far. Every gun has up to 4 mods and a spray, and each mod has a wide variety of special bonus effects as well as different scales of quality of the mods. So you can really make each gun your own. But another big question I have for the Division is how the endgame loadouts and customization is going to look player to player. Destiny had tons of guns, but because they were poorly balanced at launch, there was a stretch in time where just everybody was using the exact same Suros regime auto rifle, despite hundreds of different choices that they could use. Now, it's impossible to perfectly balance a game before launch. And Bungie, I think, did a good job kind of making all the different subclasses for each class viable and balancing the guns so not every single person was using the Suros regime. Now, the big question is, will Ubisoft be on top of balancing their endgame weapons and skills so that there's a wide variety of viable builds and not the same cookie cutter build over and over? Now, that's a very difficult thing to do. But one of the reasons games like WoW and Destiny have been so popular is that their developers do an excellent job with post-launch balancing, which really keeps you interested and hooked in the game for a long time, which is not something Ubisoft has been known for in the past. Usually Ubisoft just releases their games, put out some DLC, and then moves on to the next title. So the way that they're structuring this, it's really going to require extensive support, and Ubisoft's never done that for us before. So will this be something you're playing in 2 years? Ubisoft needs to really prove that to us. Now, if the Division continues to get balanced and encourage a wide variety of builds, it could be a multiplayer game that keeps you playing for a long time after hitting the max level. The crafting system is a huge question mark as well, but I'm very intrigued. Junk weapons and gear you pick up can be sold for credits, or deconstructed with a chance to get crafting materials, which creates an interesting gamble. Do you sell that crappy shotgun for guaranteed cash or potentially rare crafting materials? There's also a ton of character appearance customizations in the Division, but they're all fairly monotone military drab. I hope that in the full game there are more interesting and flashy options. Another interesting note is that relying on the GPS when you set waypoints will not get you to your destination the fastest way, which really encourages you to scan the environment while sprinting down the streets. Now, the GPS assumes basically that you're driving a car and will only take you down the main streets, even though there's no vehicles in this game. But if you keep your head on a swivel, you will notice alleys and fences you can climb over as a shortcut. And knowing how to quickly get to the extraction points and where the best hiding spots are at the extraction points is critical knowledge and really rewards tactical thinking when every second counts during one of those 90-second extraction turnarounds. And the environment and the weather effects are absolutely amazing as well. The changing weather from light snowfall to heavy snow and fog dramatically changes visibility and the tactics you will use in the Dark Zone. I've only seen these very crappy weather situations so far in the game. I'm curious to see if maybe they'll change through the seasons or something, or with more DLC. Another great note about this game is that different vendors buy junk for the same prices, but every vendor, and there's lots of them scattered all throughout Manhattan, not just at the base of operations, they all have different gear and weapons to buy that resets every 24 hours. And because of how many different pieces of equipment you have to wear, the stuff for sale is always something almost always worth looking at in case you haven't found a good new backpack or mask in a long time. So to sum up, I'm extremely excited for the full release of Destiny, The Division, and I will be posting a lot of coverage of this game after it comes out. I really hope that the endgame content is interesting enough to continue playing well past hitting the level cap. If you're new to the channel and you're looking forward to The Division as well, be sure to subscribe so you know when I start posting more content for this game. And if you enjoyed my preview or you have any other questions about my thoughts of this game, please post them in the comments. And if you liked this impressions and Destiny comparison video, please give it a like in the comment, or please give it a like. It helps me out a lot. Thanks for watching, and game on.